back to list. I'm like, yeah,
What
and he
a
was
problem
complaining
to
about it,
have.
right,
I
he was
know.
complaining about it. So at first you're like, oh, can I please get a listing? Then you'll get to the point where like, oh, leave me alone, right? You want to have some balance.
That happens because he hustled hard though,
Mhm.
because he worked his business for sure. And you guys are gonna learn all about that in the generation and strengthen your relationships. So I'm excited for you. Hey, I'll leave it to you guys. Okay, any questions before I go? Okay, on Zoom, actually Melissa gave them to me.
That's my calling card, Melissa
Because
Montgomery.
her name is Eminem.
I'm using that for my marketing.
Cute. I love that.
So she's gonna fall right into that for her
I gotta
marketing.
come up with some-
So if you ever see me, I'm giving M&Ms to everybody.
I know, I used them as ego markers today because
Oh.
they were funner than paper clips. On Zoom though, if you will type your emails in the chat, then I can follow up with you on with the follow-up emails from tonight.
Which computer is it on to? Where is this? Is
You
it
would
this?
use-
No, right here.
You would use this.
But is it got a mouse or anything on it? If like someone, okay, thank you. Just if someone asks a question, then we can, if we need to look at it.
Oh, yeah. And they should be able to talk. I have the volume on the TV up, so you should be able to hear and talk too.
Okay.
And we have some chips for anyone.
But you want to still.
What? Yeah. Anyways. Okay, awesome.
Okay, yeah,
We'll be back. Let's get it done.
these are what, hour and a half supposed to be?
We'll go just go till 8, so 2 classes in an hour and a half.
Are you guys,
Cause we have the short.
you guys all have a deadline, you guys are all like,
No, I have a showing, but not till 8:40.
so you guys are
They-
okay that we go
They
fast?
wanna be here till midnight.
Yeah,
We are
absolutely.
nominating a stage to midnight.
We're gonna go fast. Yeah, we're gonna go fast.
Thursday, so.
And if you wanna do a deeper dive on something, let us know, we definitely will.
I think Melissa, you've done Ignite before, haven't you?
No,
Okay,
this is my first.
okay. Well, she jumped right in and did both.
Well, somewhat. I tried.
You were on my team. I know, I called you. You wish you had a chair.
No, I am getting that chair. I wish I,
I'm doing it. We just started.
Yep, certainly, I'm gonna grab this. I have no idea why, it seems like I've always been supposed to computer.
My name's Dustin.
Dave's.
Dustin.
Oh, your name's.
My name is, yeah.
Nice.
So Dustin, Melissa,
Yeah.
Cindy,
Judah.
Judah. Okay, I might have to remember Dustin, Melissa, Cindy, Judah.
Brand new, like literally just barely passed the test on last Monday.
Hey.
So.
Good for you.
That's the place to be,
It's
that's the place to be right now.
All right, can I tell my personal story of joining Keller Williams?
Absolutely, so, I want you guys to give a synopsis of who the instructors are during the Ignite. So the Ignite is taught by our top producing agents who are literally in the trenches. So when we come to a section, we'll talk about like literal real life stories that just recently happened. So it's relative to the marketplace, not some instructor, no offense to the school instructors. But some of them are so far removed from actual sales that they don't really have legit stories, right? They'll tell a story, but they don't tell you that it happened 18 years ago, which isn't relevant to today's market.
Right.
So
So different.
tell all the stories you want.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say, like, I didn't know, like, I wanted Keller Williams. I knew I needed to be here, but I couldn't get a hold of anyone in the office. You guys were like shifting leadership at the time or whoever it was. And finally, the night before, like, I was ready to sign with Century 21. And finally, someone called me back and I'm like, I am here, and I ran, and I would not be anywhere else. Like, Keller Williams is my home. So, and exactly what Sean is saying, we have real time leadership who is training. It's not just me. You guys have you come to any of the other ones yet?
Yes.
So you've been to a couple. This is your first one tonight, but you've been to most, at least up till session 5. So you know the quality of people that we're working with,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And that's for me why I'm here.
And I'm here also for the same reason. I've known Christy Vale for years. She helped me buy and sell a couple homes and just have known her as a good friend. And she, to me, is a very, great mentor and very professional and just, she represents Keller Williams and I was really impressed with that. And that's why I chose Keller Williams as well.
And
And
the person she's referring to, she talks as if everyone knows her. You guys know.
Yes.
So Christy's a past board president, past UAR president, and she's currently a director for the MLS, Utah Real Estate Company. So she's like a icon within the industry. So you will get to know her when she's not traveling for the MLS, because they have her gone handfuls of times a year. So
And then my biggest suggestion would be find somebody like you've just said, and you've already talked about, find a mentor. That was the biggest thing for me, was I was able to work for people who had their own businesses and I had my own business, but I found ways to be of service to them. And then in return, they were willing to give me information. They were willing to have me work by them. I was still working my business. They were still working their business, but I was able to learn from them along the way. And I think Ignite is a really good way. It's very structured way, but then to find a mentor to get that in place for yourself, and no one's going to come to you for that. That's something you're going to have to step up for and start asking. And the best way I found that was to offer service to other agents. Here's what I can do for you. Now, how can I help you? Right. And through that is how it works. But class is always good. Lead generation is where we're going to start. Do you, and we've already kind of started talking about it a little bit because that was the introduction. Your fear of failure needs to be greater than your fear of lead generation. How many of you love getting on the phone and just like calling people and be like, hi, how you doing? Want my house? No.
phone sales is kind of a lost art. It used to be so common in almost every industry, and it's slowly been going away. I can't even say slowly. It's gone away in most industries now.
And it still is possible. Phone sales is possible to do. I'm closing my second deal. It's just gone live from a cold call that I made during COVID. And that was a care call. And I've gotten 2 deals out of it. And then there's a third one in the pipeline from that same phone call. So it just, again, how can you make it fun for you so that you're willing and able to do it, right? It's not got anything to do with, is it hard or easy? Is it scary? Well, yeah, it's all of those things put together, but you have to choose for yourself. The 6 core components of a business. Do you guys know what those are? Anyone want to share?
I know the number one is lead generation.
That's
That
exactly
just
right.
gets drilled into you, and so it's obviously the biggest thing. They're like, don't worry about anything else. Get your leads. We've got people here who can help you and support you once you move in.
Exactly. So lead generation is definitely number one, and getting the lead, capturing the lead, and then Sean, you already kind of talked about this and touched on it as well. Nurturing those leads. What does that look like for you?
Nurturing leads looks a little different for everyone, but we try to make it simple. So she mentioned cold calling. We try to make it to where once you have your database built, it's warm calls. So it's not completely cold. It makes it easier on them and us. An example would be is we do 4 client appreciation events a year. It gives you, let's say 4 and sometimes 5 touches, inviting them, right? Save the date, the invite, the conversation, or the reminder of the invite, the conversation at the event, and then the thank you after. It gives you multiple times to talk to them. So we give you plenty of reasons and excuses to talk to them. So for me, client appreciation events are the best. They've always has been and always will. It's easiest.
And then how do you, and then the next thing is, so now you've made that relationship. What's the next piece of that?
The next piece, basically working with them, right? So when they raise their hand and say, hey, I am ready to sell, I am ready to buy, it's signing the contracts and going and doing that stuff. Marketing a listing. A lot of times the seller is a buyer. Not a lot of times, most of the time, even if it's not here locally, you can help them buy in Wichita or the Bahamas, wherever they're moving, you just help find an agent, you get a referral fee out of it. But almost every seller is a buyer, but it's helping the seller go through that process, helping the buyer go through the process of finding the home of what they want, which includes getting them pre-approved and so on. So,
And then right before that, so before we get them pre-approved and get them finding it. And we're now with the NAR, all new rules.
getting, signing the contracts to do them.
So we have to generate the lead and convert it to an appointment. Then we get the agreement signed, right? Then we go shopping.
Yep.
Number 3, these guys have been doing an incredible job. There's been a lot of changes that are happening, and most of them we don't even have the whole answers to yet. But Keller Williams is doing national classes for us, so we can keep abreast of that, and then we're doing them locally as well. So make sure you're keeping track of that. You guys are here at a good time where you don't have to change any bad habits. You just get to come into good habits, right? And that
We
is
don't even
getting
need to talk about
agreement.
Yeah.
There are none. There was never any bad habits, right? Okay, so who can think of number 4? What's the 4th job that you do as a real estate agent? I'm gonna let one of the 3 of you decide.
Negotiate your contract,
Negotiate the contract, right? So you've gone out and found them, now you need to negotiate them, right?
what you're gonna agree upon.
Exactly. So your commission is a part of that. And that will also be coming in the agreement side. That will be, and you guys will get into that a little bit deeper in another session. But that will be in the agreement side. The negotiating the contract is, okay, I've got a buyer and now they want to buy a home, or I've got the seller and they're ready to sell the home, right? Now I'm gonna make sure that it gets from, yeah, we have an agreement all the way till funding and closing and done, right? So that's the negotiation that they're talking about. My job is, in my opinion, to get my seller the best deal, or to sell my seller for the most money, or get my buyer the best deal. That's my job. So whatever that negotiation looks like during that probably 25 to 45 day period, I'm gonna do everything I can to negotiate the best price for that client, right? Specific to their needs. Okay. What's number 5? Got 2 more people left in the room to
Meet the sales closing.
Yeah, what do you think what that means?
Probably just making sure everything runs as smoothly as possible. Just if there's any hiccups or need to write any addendums or anything that's sort, make sure it's all.
Exactly. How long have you been in real estate?
I'm actually still in school.
Okay, so very good. You're like answering just perfectly. That's exactly right. Me personally, I have always used a transaction coordinator. It's always just really nice to have a second set of eyes. And in that agreement, I write in that my client's actually paying for my transaction coordinator. So it's not even out of my pocket, but there are options for that as well. But I think for me, that's been a very helpful thing. And then number 6, Judith, what do you think?
Well, it says manage money, which basically just means making sure everything that goes through the brokerage is accounted for in its proper place, if it's mingled or anything like that. So, and then once the deal is closed, you have to make sure that people are getting paid.
Okay. And then what else? What other kind of money would you need to be managing?
Your own.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So if a portion of the money that we make is going to go to the brokerage, a portion of that money is going to go to advertising or build up your own business. So you have to make sure that all that money is accounted for yourself as well.
that's right. And thank goodness, Sean, he takes such good care of like the commingling part. Like we don't even have to worry about that. We make sure that our numbers are turned in here. These guys take care of it. Title holds what they need to hold. The brokerage holds what they need to hold. And then at the end of the day, we get paid. And then now we have this chunk we have to get. What are the 3 things that you guys need to be paying for out of your business money when you finally get paid? The brokerage sends you your check. What are the 3 things? Taxes, number 1, taxes, pay your taxes. Okay.
50%.
Depending on who you talk to your accountant, anywhere from 30. I mean,
And with that being said, don't hire an accountant that does W-2 employees, find one that does self. Because it's completely different,
yeah,
it's a different mindset.
and getting an accountant is number 1. Getting a good accountant is number 1.
You don't feel like you have to, in time you're
Yes.
going to want to. And she also mentioned the transaction coordinator, the TC is the acronym. I do suggest learning to do your first couple yourself, but you'll find that it's not the best use of your time.
Right.
And it's definitely not the most fun, because it's fun. Creating the opportunity, putting all the paperwork in there. It's not hard, it's just you're better off doing an open house.
Counting,
Yes.
I'm gonna count, so.
Well, and I
It's-
love,
It's boring.
And there's nothing to say there's anything wrong with if real estate and being in sales doesn't work, that you couldn't become a transaction coordinator, right? Like that's the other thing that's really cool about this industry is that there are so many ways to make money here. There's no end to what the opportunities are.
Doors will open.
You put yourself in the right place, you educate yourself the best that you can, and then it just works out, like, but you have to put that effort into it. But I mean, if you love that part of it, maybe that's the key, right? I hate it personally. I don't want to be chasing around. I want to go talk to people. I want to be outside. You right? Like you have to do what's right for you. Okay, so taxes is number one. What do you think is number? Usually I kind of think in my mind it's going into 3 different buckets. 1/3 taxes. That's an easy one to guess. 1/3 is what goes to me, and another 1/3 is what takes care of my business. So you kind of hit on that as well. Okay, that's super deep. Lead generation myths. This is you in the very middle, and they were talking about your SOI, but this could be anybody who you come in contact with at the grocery store, a neighbor, a friend, an open house person. That's what you want to make sure that you're staying in contact with. Can you each get out your phone and look up how many contacts are in your phone? Do you know how to do that?
There is a way that you can take all of your contacts from your phone and load them right into your command database.
Yeah, with a CSV or there's a file that you can submit right through.
Yep.
And it will go directly in. I still haven't done that.
It's so easy. We did it in a class. We
Yeah.
just did it right then and there.
Dial into, I think Sean alludes to, dial into command as much as you possibly can. Because it's a game changer. Okay, who wants to share how many people are in their contacts?
I have 723. I've deleted a lot, but also in those though are some like just personal notes. and
Is
stuff.
that your phone? Is that your,
That's just my.
that's how many people are contacts in your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, so times that by 0.081. And what's your number?
58.56.
Okay, and then and each of you can be following along, so you should each have your number. And then multiply the amount of contacts by, and I'm sorry, Melissa, I'm just using you as an
Oh, it's
example.
fine.
I didn't even ask your permission. Hey, now we know that there are potential referrals in your, so this is a potential opportunity for closings in your contacts. You have 58 potential closings just in your phone right there. Okay, so now let's say you have referrals. So if we multiply that by 0.1, so you guys can each do that too. How many referrals do you have just in your phone?
You're timesing it by 10 does that take it to 5.85? Or is it?
0.1
Oh,
times
0.1.
0.1, not 10.
And that's gonna be 0.1 times the number of contacts.
Oh, times
Yeah.
the contacts, not the 58.56.
The A,
Close
so
to
this, you're right, so it's 723 times, I did that wrong. I apologize.
Okay, because I was like, I'm not seeing where you're going. with this.
Yeah. That was mine.
72.3.
Okay, 72.3, we add these two together, so we'll say 59 and 72. What's that?
So 59 plus 72 is 131.
Okay, so 100, there's a potential of 131 transactions in your phone right now. The average, I'm gonna say, I usually do 10 to 12, Sean, would you say average of commission?
our average sales price right now is insane. It's close to 500.
500.
But that's not gonna be everyone's individual, that's just as an office or as an area. So I think figuring stuff at 10%, because you don't know, I mean, at 10,000. If you think of it as in that, it's easier to do the math, and then when you get ones that are a little higher, because the commission rate will fluctuate as well.
Yeah.
But you get ones that are a little higher, you just make more. It's like a little bonus.
So multiply 131, you can probably do this in your mind by the 10,000. I usually do somewhere between 10 and 12. I think that the average was 12 or
Yeah,
something in the office,
so
but
as long as she's been in the industry now, she can look back at every year and see not her income just grow, but her average sales price grow, her average commission rate grow, right? She can track all of it to real life. That's why she's saying 10 to 12, because that's what she's seeing in our numbers. For you guys, just easy math, just do 10 for now.
Yeah.
Then after you get a year, then you can look back and say, okay, my average was blah. And then the next year you could say, okay, my average increase, it's blah. That way you can track it with real life numbers too.
Yeah.
And just to start with, say 10, which is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
I've been in business so long, the average sales price was 89,000. So we worked really, really hard for $1,200.
and they didn't have like social media, they didn't have GPS, they didn't have the MLS, like we could just like hop on and send email, like the industry has changed so much. Okay, so 131 times 10,000 approximately, how much?
About 1.3 mil.
So how would you feel if by the end of the next 12 months, you had $1.3 million in gross commission income?
That'd be unacceptable.
Unacceptably awesome.
Yes,
Right?
yes, absolutely.
So knowing that now, and knowing that the only thing standing between you and $1.3 million within the 12-month period is what?
Me calling and talking to people.
Conversations, exact, right?
Yeah.
Which is what we're talking about is lead generation, right?
So another name of lead generation is farming.
Yep.
So if you think of as your database is, think of like an old school farmer, not old school because they still exist, but think of like a farmer on their farm, and your database is the land, and you reaching out to them as you planting seeds. And then when the crop grows, you harvest it. So think of lead generation as farming.
So like I think I'm
Yeah, go ahead, keep going.
I was just gonna
Thank
say,
you.
I know I can talk to anybody, so I know for me, that's not a problem. I'll talk people's ears off, but like, I'll find any opportunity. I'm at the grocery store. There was a lady parked next to me. She had a little girl. She was trying to get her in her car seat, and the lady's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And I'm like, "It's totally fine. You know, I've got 8 grandkids." And, you know, you just start kind of talking, and she's loading up her groceries and everything. And then I keep them in my car, my M&Ms with my card, and have a little thing tied on them. And I just said, "Hey, this might not be for you, but if you know anyone, I'd love to be able to help you." I gave one to her son and one for the little kid, because I have net and playing. Anyway, but anybody, like, if they talk on, I'm just kind of like throwing my card. I went to get my business license, right? And I'm walking in, there's all these construction workers, you know, these guys putting in a new, anyway, same thing.
Yes.
Now, I know I've got to get to the point where I stop and write down all their name, but I don't always have the opportunity or the time, I guess I should say. And so is it a waste of time? I don't know. But that's where I'm tracking my numbers on my business, is like, okay, I invested this much in this. What was my ROI on it or whatever? So anyway.
My opinion, I've had people tell me, like, you go do that grocery store, it's 3 hours and nothing's gonna come out of it. Well, I'm more likely to have something come out of that than if I would have sat home and done that.
Yeah.
So it's better that you're saying, here's my name and number. That's a perfect, great step. The next step would be exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now we start collecting them so we can get them in our database, so we can start farming them and harvest
Yeah.
what it is that we're putting out there, right? So it's just compiling one step after another, but you're exactly on the right track. Like, first putting yourself out there. Oh my gosh, I'd love to stay in touch with you. I really enjoyed seeing your kids. I'd like to know how things are going. Well, I didn't catch your name and phone number. right? Just that simple. And then you use that next excuse Sean was saying, like the carnival is coming up. Hey, we're having a carnival. You had all your kids. I know you guys would love to come. What's your best email so I can send you the invitation? So now you've collected a name and phone number. Now you've collected an email address.
Do you have someone else who'd wanna come with us?
Who would you like to invite, right? And, oh, I'd love to
You got their
send them
neighbor.
the invitation, right?
My kids, their best friends are so-and-so, can we bring their family too? Of course, right? That's
Oh,
how
I'll
it
have to
starts.
think about it for a minute, no?
She mentioned open houses, and there's a myth in our industry, right? We were talking about myths a second ago. There's a myth from other agents and other brokerages that open houses don't work. And so here's the thing, is if you do them right, and you do all the steps and all the work that go into them, you can knock them out of the park, but we don't want everyone else to know that,
Tell everyone.
because that's why we get some people at our open houses, because not everyone's doing it.
Well, I know you talked about, there was offers on yours. My very first open house, I had 5 offers from my open house the first day. Like, so they can work. At least that was my first experience, so I was grateful it was a good one. But yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that, and then you get good leads from it, so.
And it's just a compounding effect. Compounding,
yeah.
that's all it is. What's that book, Compounding something? I'll have to look at my phone, and see it. Anyway, I would like to make 1.3 million.
Me too.
So do it.
I'm going.
It's
to.
in your phone.
Yep.
Okay, so that it's talking about your database. We just kind of went through all that, so I'm skipping fast. The lead generation model, we've talked about capturing the leads a lot. That's what we already have. That's either in our phone or we go to the open house. And the second part of tonight is more like how to do the lead generation. This is more when you have it. So, blah, blah, blah. You're going to move what from your phone, from whoever you met, you're going to get it into command. Command, at least for me, that's my, other people have CMA, what is it? CRM, that is different, but you're here, you're paying for the fee, you might as well use it, and it's getting so good. Like, it is, command is incredible. I like to refer to mine, not as a database, but as a data bank. So, that comes in, then we want to move them from leads into contacts, which means that we're now strengthening that experience, that relationship, just like Melissa was talking about, right? First, I've met someone, I've given them their M&Ms. Now I've asked for their contact information. Now I've invited them to an opportunity. Now I've invited them, I've asked them for other things, right? So it becomes a two-way. And once you finally get to that, you get to know them well enough. Oh, they do need to buy and sell. This would help them in that way. Now you can cultivate it. Once you get that done, get it closed. It's not the end. Now it's just the beginning again, but later, right? So that's what this is talking about. Now we're going to ask for the referrals, and we're going to keep in contact with them for when they're ready to move again. I think the average is 7 to 10 years. I think in Utah it's more than that. Someone buys and sells.
And I think it's also depending on their age. The
Yeah,
average
yeah.
is 7 to 10 years. However, when you think about our lives, how many times did you move when you were younger? 3 or 4 times. Then all of a sudden you don't move for 10 years,
Yeah,
right? So that's where that average comes from. So if they're young people, they're going to move 3 or 4 times in that 7 years.
Yeah. so just depending on what that looks like. I think it's good to know that number 7 to 10 times, right? It kind of helps you gauge motivation as you start talking to people.
And that's just moving. So if you teach them, right, through your constant contact with them, you teach them that they have an opportunity to own multiple homes. There's probably no way they're going to say, no, I don't want to own a rental. I don't want to own a summer home somewhere. I don't want to own a winter home somewhere. They're not going to tell you no. They're going to go, I can. Show me how.
How do I do that? Yeah. Which is now repeat, right? So there's, again, in this industry, there's no way to run out of ways to make money through relationship, right? Okay, so we did that pretty fast. There's passive and there's prospecting and marketing. Do you guys know what the difference of those two things are? Anyone want to guess?
I would guess prospecting is done actively and marketing is done passively.
He gets a gold star. Good
Nice.
job. That's exactly right. So prospecting is when you're outdoor knocking, when you're having an open house, when you're actively calling people. Marketing is if you have an ad running somewhere at the gym, just saying.
But they do coincide. an example would be an open house, right?
Yes.
I know this is an open house class, but since that's what we both love, we're gonna talk a lot about it. So when you go door knocking, you're marketing for the open house. Hey, the Johnsons or the Smiths asked us to do an open house on their home. It's coming up on Saturday, right? So you're out there aggressively marketing their home and yourself. That's prospecting. However, you're leaving behind the marketing flyer for the open house. Plus you got ads running.
Okay. I think it goes in, this is where they talk about the difference between marketing and prospecting. That's me like buzzing, sorry about that. Marketing is more money intensive. So for me, that's why door knocking was such a big deal, because I could get a lot of people, conversations going, but yeah, it was a very low cost activity for me, right? It was an hour of my time. I would meet 20 new people. I'd walk away with 3 or 4 new contacts. And all it cost me was that hour of time, maybe 2, and a flyer that I cut and printed out. It is a little bit more long-term, it's long-term. I've got this upside down. Money intensive prospecting, door knocking is prospecting. I apologize, flip what I said. The marketing is more passive, as if for me, so I do have an ad running, it's constantly, I bought it for a year, it's at a gym, right? So that's running constantly. It's in the background, I don't think about it. I change it every couple months, that's that, right? It costs me more money and it's a little bit more long-term because now I have to wait, right? But it's not costing me time, which when I started, door knocking was more cost efficient because I didn't have the money to put down on that marketing, but I did have the time. Now I have a little bit less time because I'm more busy with business, right? Like it's a constant evolution of prospecting and marketing, but prospecting is more time intensive, but usually less expensive. Did I say that right?
Yes,
Or did I
absolutely.
get that completely
Absolutely.
backwards?
No,
But
you
the
did.
ad, she's not waiting for the results of it. She's out there doing other stuff.
Right.
However, it's building brand recognition, name recognition, right? That's what it's doing. So when she knocks on someone's door that saw her ad at the gym, they're gonna connect, if that makes sense.
And neighbors, I've had people come up to me, neighbors, friends, like previous clients, oh yeah, I saw your ad, oh my gosh, what do you think about it, right? It's another way to start that conversation. What do you think about that ad that I'm running? Would you be interested in, like right now I'm doing $1,000 off the closing costs. How would that help you? Who do you know that needs to use that, right? So it's another way to start that conversation. Gary Keller says that real estate's a contact sport. The one who makes the contact is the one who wins, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean because we're out fighting, but it's a contact, like you're having a constant communication, being in contact. Okay. You want to have a smart database or bank, which is command. I know, again, I'm buzzing through. Am I missing anything? We already went through a lot of that. Are you okay that I'm going? Types of communication. Who can tell me what the different types of communication are?
Phone call,
Phone call.
email, text message, face to face, they're all up there.
Any kind of communication, right? So I have a coach that, Max coach, who would tell me he would accept a conversation through carrier pigeon, right? And then they even said that in this most recent, KW, whatever, about the NAR stuff. Yeah, carrier pigeon counts, right? It used to be, it had to be face to face in order to count it. I get why that is, but we are in a different time. And now any kind of conversation counts. It's good to have a mix of all of these. So if you guys join with Allison and do the coaching program that she has going on, she'll teach you how to do an 8x8 contact. And that will mean one time it's a phone call, one time it's a physical mailing in the mail, one time it's a text, one time it's an email. And you have these conversations. You'll also go through the nurturing of your contact, and there's a 36 touch that you talk to everyone in your database 36 times a year. And it would be a mix of all of these different things. Do you have any questions or any ideas of other ways to communicate with people?
Before you leave this screen, I
Yes.
want to ask a question.
Absolutely.
What is the appropriate time for a phone call? Not for a phone call, but to respond to a phone call.
As in somebody called you and you're responding?
Or vice versa,
Not around 5 o'clock or dinner time, then.
I'd say immediately.
more immediately. And the time of the day makes a difference, right? But everyone's got different times. What about a text?
Same,
Same.
You know,
What about an email?
same.
You think an email's
Not-
works the same
No,
as a text?
no, 'cause people don't check this all the time, but.
What about a face-to-face conversation?
right there.
Day of, probably,
Day of?
if not. the
What
next
about, I don't see it up there, it might be under there. What about like a message through like Facebook or something like that?
Probably when you get to it.
So, just to be clear, certain types of communication need a quicker response. Other ones, it's not acceptable or it is more acceptable to go a little bit longer. But we have different, as a community, society, we have different response timeframes in our head, right? So typically, if someone emails you, they want an email back. If someone meets you face to face, let's say you're at the grocery store, you're at the gym, you're somewhere where you can't sit down physically right then and there. So what do? You schedule an appointment for another face to face. Right? So ultimately, you have to think of the business that way. If someone texts you, that might be their preferred method of contact. So don't then email them, because you're probably not going to get a response. You have to think of people you meet in the way you met them. Right? So I personally would push the phone calls that they called you to, don't just now text them unless they tell you to. Try to have the phone conversation to get face to face. Try to have the text conversation to get face to face, because ultimately that's where you're going to have more influence over the conversation, more of a consultation. But if it's an email, it might take 3, 4, 5 weeks of emails back and forth before you got face to face. Right? If it's an internet lead, it could take, how many do you have that? You mentioned that you had something from COVID days.
Cold calling,
Oh.
yeah, that was.
So it's, sometimes you have to cultivate these leads for a long period of time before you get their information in order to earn the face to face. So just know that.
A funny story, so I met someone maybe 3 months ago at an open house. And I've just been back and forth communication, and I'm just like, it's dawning on me, it's the first time, I don't know why. But she will only respond to me when I Facebook her from my business account. If I text her, it's still me. She's like, okay, I don't know why, but for some reason I haven't connected that yet for her. That's on me, because it's my responsibility to make sure that that happens. But if I respond, and she'll like kind of respond on a text, I text back and forth with her a couple of times, but the fastest, quickest response is when I Facebook her from my business account. Which is just interesting. I think that's kind of what you're saying. It's not about what's easy for me. It's about what does that client need.
Yeah, it's their comfort.
And some people that just is, right? But our goal at the end of the day is to get that face to face, because that's where we're gonna get the agreement signed. That
Yep.
was good.
Yep.
I liked it. Okay. And then repeat, right? Once you get them all done, you get to the repeat. We buzzed through really fast. What were your ahas on that of the lead generation? About finding people, about talking to people. What did you learn new that you didn't know before?
It can be anywhere or
Right.
any kind
It,
of discussion can open the door, just open that dialogue.
exactly, right?
Anyone need this stuff? Are you ready, son?
I don't know I don't know why the password's written on there. If
That's the
somebody
Wi-Fi.
wants it.
Someone probably needed it.
I don't care. Okay, where are places? So we talked about how we contact them. Where are some places that we can meet people? So we can put them in our database. So we can stay in
Neighborhood,
the neighborhood.
the church.
Church.
Utah, it's church for sure. I mean, I'm not saying I'm going,
Maybe it's time to join.
baptism or, wedding.
So church stuff,
Yeah.
community stuff, what else? What are other ways to meet new people?
Gym,
At the gym, we've talked about the gym a little bit, what else? Absolutely, at
I
the
like
grocery
that.
store. So the way I do it, but there's also people who, there, when I first started, there was a guy, I would listen to, I forget what his name is now, Ricky something, he was interviewing a guy who within his first year made 100, like. A gazillion dollars, I can't even remember, but he was saying, how is it that you would do it? And he, again, he had broken it down. I have to have this many conversations in order to complete my day. And if that meant that I was at Walmart that night until 10 o'clock, meeting people at Walmart, having a conversation with them, then it meant I was at Walmart having a conversation with them. How did that conversation go? Oh, you're getting purple grapes, I'm getting green grapes, what's the difference? And you start, just strike up that conversation, right? So there's the very formal way that I'm doing it with, hi, would you like a prize? Hi, would you like a prize? You could be wandering through the grocery store and still meet somebody, right? So there's, again, an unlimited amount. What else? So we said grocery store,
I did it at my
Sure.
dentist, even though he's a dentist, I gave him M&Ms anyway, you know, and. And his assistants and, yeah, so. Pharmacies, you know, you can just kind of.
so farmer,
Hairdresser,
yeah, pharmacy, you even think about that, break it down for a second. It's not just the pharmacist, but the people who are standing in line around you, right? Like there's so many ways. The hairdresser, first of all, your hairdresser, the person sitting next to you, the receptionist, it's not just that one thing. So start like breaking
Or
the work, right?
At a truck line, so I get all sorts of drivers I can talk to.
Exactly, right? And then how many people do those people know? Right?
Everybody lives somewhere.
That's why I love real estate. It's one of the 3 major needs: food, clothing, and shelter. You have to have it. You gotta have a place to live, right?
well, and I love just yeah, there's just so much, and they talk about how. Everybody knows multiple real estate people, you know, what's the average now? I can't remember what they said, but it was a lot.
20
It
or
was like
something.
It's even
13
more
or
in Park City.
something. Right.
Cause the
Thanks.
prices are so high up there, they go get their license because they're gonna do 1, maybe 2 deals a year. And it's a great side business. So it's like something like 1 out of every 3 people are agents. It's
Yeah.
insane.
I
And-
just Googled today how many real estate agents are in Utah. It said 19,800 something. number.
Wow.
And how many people do we have that live in Utah?
That's Utah realtors.
Yeah, but
Okay,
how many people do
what's
we
the
have that live here?
population? What is the
It's
Utah
like
population?
3.5 million in the whole state. But from Ogden to Provo to Park City and all that, it's 2.5.
So if we were to take that 19,000, divide that by the 3, you said 3.5 million in Utah?
Yeah, total with St. George and all that, all the way down.
It's like 5%.
5%? What's the number of agents, or what's the number of agents per person?
20,000 divided by, no, 3 million divided by 20,000, right?
Oh,
If we just round it.
Oh, so 3 million what?
Right.
Is it that way or the other way around? That, then it has to be the other way around.
That'd be like 1 real estate agent per 150
50
people or
people.
something.
Yeah,
Then that's not right. Divided by 3 million. 0.6, that's a percentage.
Yeah, if you have
point
20,000
zero
divided by
zero.
3 million, it's like
7.
0.0006.
Well, if you did 3 million divided by 20,000, that's 150. That would mean 150. That's not.
Yeah, it's one real estate.
One real estate
agent
agent for every 150
For
people.
every 150, that's pretty saturated.
Yes. I think people, the last number I heard was somewhere that everybody knows at least, it was somewhere between
Yeah, like
13 and
13,
20.
Yeah, so that's where I was going with that, is what we keep being told is just all these nurturing and keeping that contact, because you want to be the first one they think of. And I really, what I've liked about some of the training we've been doing is like, what makes you unique? Like, what makes you special? What, so as stupid as it is, M&Ms, I want people when they're thinking M&Ms, like, they're gonna think of me. And so whatever you can do to try and associate you so that they think of you first over all the other people that they know. I think that was one of the big things, but yeah, lead generation was just constantly putting yourself out there.
So where are some other places that we could find people? We talked about the gym, grocery store, hairdresser,
No.
church, nail salon,
Or-
Any club or organization you belong to.
Yeah.
clubs
So,
and organizations.
Jenny Erb, she used to belong to, I don't know if she still does, but she gets a lot of business from Ogden Pub Runners, and it's just a group of runners that literally meet at a restaurant or bar, or finish at a restaurant or bar, one of the two, depending on where they're running. And it's just a group that gets together like weekly during the summers, and she's got the bulk of their business because she goes. I don't even know if she runs it with them anymore. She just goes to their events.
Nice.
Mommy and me groups, quilting groups, planting groups, right? Like that, anywhere, farmers markets, right? So you can see again, like there is an unlimited amount. That's the other thing about Keller. I mean, I know I'm plugging Keller Williams, but that's because we're all here, right? But one of the things about us is the mindset of abundance, right? There's enough business, and that's why for me, I'm able to come here. There's enough business for everyone that's in this room. And it's not gonna take away or dent my business. There's plenty of it out there. It's just again, matter of fact, getting out there and finding it and being the one to start that communication. And going back to, you're the first one reaching out and asking. Christine Nelson, one of the agents here, she's like, people won't know how to help you if you don't ask them. And that, I don't know why that blew my mind, but I'm like, of course, why am I not asking, right? Anyway, yes. Anything else? So here's a whole bunch of ideas. There is a mind jogger, but I don't think it's in here. Have you seen it? That's like who's your dentist? Who's your,
Old did that.
yeah.
In the old days, we used to call it the yellow pages exercise because I don't even know if they still make yellow pages, but really they start with the A's and they go through whatever auto body, accounting, all of, so the idea is you look through there, not that you're writing down phone numbers, but it's jogging your memory of who you know that's in those industries.
The other thing Allison does too, this note right here kind of reminds me too, you guys need to start working on getting like, who's your photographer, who's gonna be your go-to lender. You guys talked to Tom or heard from Tommy, right? You've got a whole nother group of people that you need to start working with for your business. Like today, I'm on a hunt for a swamp cooler worker, right? Like there's no end to that, so. Yeah,
There's a place in there, like, it's like a really small shop, it's right in front of where the Azteca market used to be.
okay.
And those guys do service calls for small clubs.
Okay, that's what I've been looking for. The guy I called, he's like, not till July 1st. And my people are like, I'm not waiting till July 1st to have, so anyway,
What's wrong with it?
it's just, it hasn't been turned on for the year.
That's easy.
Yeah, but you wanna cut, I'll pay you.
You say it's easy, but you never know if they're 80-year-old people.
Or it's me.
Well, I
it's
mean,
not
it's
my-
just do with the service on it, where all you do is change the pads, unplug the water vent and make sure the pump's working, right?
So then you should,
Alright,
brand
right.
yourself as the, I'll fix it for you so you can market it, right? Because I can't do that. I'm not going to do that. I'm not climbing up on my mom's roof to turn the swamp cooler on. I'm gonna hire someone to do that. for me. Right? I mean, that would be like, that could totally be your niche, like, hey, I'll come and do the patching for you for free. You list with me, we both get the deal done, you make more money because your house is in good condition. Right? That's totally a niche that you could go for. There's another one, Marcus Green talks about, he'll send out a flyer that's like, or a postcard, free furnace filter change every year. Why couldn't you do that? You could send out a mailer to everyone in your neighborhood that's like, I'll pay for the filter, I'll come in and change it. You refer me, you can't say like, then you refer me, but you could be like, and by the way, who do you know, right? So you, again, check with Sean before you start using any of those. Out of trouble and make sure that you're compliant, but point being, right, like, that's a niche that you could do that not everybody can.
I used to be a home inspector, so, yeah, so.
So there, like, find that strength that's yours and then market that.
Mhm.
For sure, like you've got your M&Ms, that's your niche, right? Like, that's who I am. You've got your branding right there. So, anyway, yes, it's my mom's air conditioner, it hasn't been turned on, I went in there and I went upstairs and I was like, what is going on? She's like, well, the AC is not on yet, or the swamp cooler's not on yet, I'm like, Mom, it's June, mid-June, what are you doing? But no, I'm not climbing up there to do it. Okay, build your SOI day-to-day. This is what they're talking about. That's the one that they're gonna say, they had us go through the exercise of like, who do you know, blah, blah, blah. So we've already done that. Is any of that making, are you guys like, is this helping at all? Okay. What questions do you have? Let's go back to that one. Instead of doing an aha, what question? Everyone can ask one question. To what we've gone to so far.
We're asked one.
You've been asking good questions.
Well, a lot of what I've done so far to attempt to lead generate has been, door knocking, open houses, same thing.
How has your experience been with that?
Good for the most part, but very, very nice some days. You think like, I'm gonna knock on 100 doors and I'm gonna have 100 conversations, and then everybody's at school or work. So you might get 10 conversations and maybe one of them even talks with you long enough for you to say, hey, I'm an agent and we're hosting an house. So it kind of depends on the day, and I guess my thing is just don't let that discourage you. It will if you let it, but it'll have to go. So I've been told.
It's the consistency.
Yeah.
It 100%, again, it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're doing it consistently. If you, that's it, like. Okay,
Do you have any bits of it? So like, cause I did the door knocking too, that's why I was kind of curious how that went for you.
Yep.
And it's interesting, people are very standoffish, you know, I've never door knocked before. And it's like, what are you selling? You know, what are you, like, they're just seemed quite apprehensive. And so, you know, and then I just tried to, hey, we're, you know, doing an open house, or, but what are some good lines to kind of
So,
start?
so the idea behind it is the more you do, the more comfortable you're gonna get. The
Right.
more script practice you do,
Yeah,
the more comfortable you're gonna get. Then you can make them feel at ease, okay? A lot of times, if you make them laugh, you joke about something, right? A lot of times they're in their yard working on something, you talk about that, right? So if you can get them to kind of chill a little bit, a lot of it is if you're nervous, they're gonna be nervous, like, what's up? Just let them know I'm not selling anything, I'm just letting you know. And if you use the name of the people you're doing the open house for,
yeah,
they probably don't have a clue who they are, right? How many of us know all of our neighbors? We typically know one or two, if that, but we don't know the people up a block and a half away, but they don't know you don't know, or that they don't know. They're gonna act like, oh yeah, I know the Johnsons. Their little kids might know their little kids, but they probably don't have a clue. So you just say the Johnsons, the Smiths, and Martinez has asked us to do an open house. So I told them I'd go knock on 100 doors, and so you're one of the lucky ones.
yeah.
Right? Just make a joke about it.
so that's his joke.
Okay, I
And
like
you
that.
heard, did you see that you responded?
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah,
so
it
if
was-
you got that joke,
Mhm.
my joke is, first of all, I say, I'm coming out here, I'm just here to let you know, we're holding an open house for your neighbors. And usually that brings more traffic, and we want to make sure all the pets and kids are safe. So that's what we're here for. We're here to serve, right? That's what we're giving to you. And then they'll say, oh, thanks. And all of a sudden you'll watch that defense go down. And I'll say, and then my joke is, oh, and it's a chance for you to pick your next neighbor. So who do you
Oh.
know that needs to move in?
Oh, there you
And I
go.
laugh.
Who loves your neighborhood?
Look at every single one of you, at least practice smile. You have to admit with a funny enough joke that you at least practice smiles, right? But that, and then there's that joke, and then it's like, oh yeah, my granddaughter is looking for, or somebody. Oh, I don't know who it is. Well, fine, that's great. Come to the open house. I've really enjoyed talking with you. I'd love to stay in touch with you. What's your bet? I didn't catch your name. What was that? I just start asking presumptively, and your best phone number. Oh, you know what else I do once a month? It's not too much. It's only your neighborhood. information that comes to you in an email that says what's happening in your, in the neighborhood, what sold and how much it sold for. What's the best email to send that to? I ask it just like that. And they'll say no. I mean, some people, no, I'm not interested. Oh, no, that's no worries. The other thing that we do is we do activities every couple months. I'd love to invite you out to that. Sound like fun? No, or yes, but if you don't ask, the answer's already no, you might as well ask,
Yeah.
right? So getting that barrier down and then just asking some really good questions, that's all it takes. And it takes time, it takes practice.
There's so many different scripts. A lot of your smart neighbors get this newsletter that I do that shows
Yeah.
all the market stats. Would you want to be one of those?
Yeah.
Right, they're gonna say, oh, I want to be a dumb neighbor,
Yeah.
Right?
right?
Or I'll say it only comes out once a month. I don't think that's too much, do you? Well, they want to be agreeable. We live in Utah. People want to be agreeable. So they're like, you're right, that's not too much. Okay. Right? So it's a matter of just testing out a few things at a time, but that like is almost verbatim. You saw Dalton walking past, he and I for a year and a half. That was the same conversation I had with everyone. And I got the majority of contact information once I got that script worked out for me, that worked for me. That was a really sideways. We went
No,
sideways.
but
Is
that's
that
what
okay?
this class is for.
Okay. Just ask. Just ask. Just ask. Join groups, ask for referrals. This is all
I've
kind
been in
of
this
the
business
same.
for so long that I use up all my words. By the time I'm done home for the day, I'm done talking, right? And I'm sure you have days like that too. And I've been in the business so long, there's times where people think that I'm either an asshole or that I'm super shy. And I'm really neither. I'm just done talking for the day, right? So there's times where I have to come out of my shell to purposely have that conversation. So you got to remember, everyone's got a version of that going on.
That's true.
So
It was funny. So I've got a painter. If you guys need a painter, and his name is Zach, let me know. I was door knocking an open house with another agent. The other agent, I'm trying to coach him along. Here's the script. It just wasn't hitting. For whatever reason, they weren't having a connection. And I kind of stepped in. I'm like, hey, I see your skis. Have you been out skiing today? Yeah, actually. And you just watch that wall go down because again, it was something that was interesting to him. And then we got conversation, he's been out now 2 different of my buildings. He's been painting for me. He does a fast job. He does a good job. You just, again, never know who you're going to meet. And if you come from contribution, which is again, the Keller Williams way, you're going to find what you need. But first you go out with a hand to give. This is talking about your best practices. Make sure you're going out having those conversations, track how many conversations you're having. Find out, is door knocking actually, you're talking about, okay, if I'm giving out 100 M&M packets, am I getting enough in return to cover the 100 M&M packets, right? Because there's a cost to that.
Right.
You have to print it, you have to staple it, you have to, right? So door knocking, there's a cost to that. Hopefully you're taking at least a flyer with you, right? You're leaving that behind. I did it with a staple and an elastic. So that was a cost for me. My 2 hours of time was a cost for me, right? Is what I'm getting out of that equal to what I'm putting into it to make it worth a profit, right? So any of these, that's what they're talking about, audit them. And then diversify your database, making sure that you have a lot of different people from a lot of different places. I think number 4 is actually should be number 1, be consistent. I'm not perfect. I'm not the best at anything, but I am consistent. That's the one thing that I will be doing. I have my systems, they are in place, and I will do those systems regularly and consistently. Doesn't mean I have a bad day and I didn't get it done, right? Like that still happens, but the consistency is what will make it happen.
And I like what Keller Williams, like I've been listening to that millionaire real estate agent or whatever.
Yes.
And I really like what they say, and it's true. It's like, do what's been proven to
Yeah.
work, right? Now we can tweak it to personalize it a little bit or whatever, like, because they'll be able to tell if we feel uncomfortable with something. But I really like that it's like, especially being new, it's like, don't try and create something brand new, tried and true, like follow it. There's a reason that they're telling you to do it this way. And so that's part of this being consistent is they've laid out the groundwork for us and we just have to implement it. So I like that.
Which is why there's a whole class on open houses in Ignite, right? Because it's a tried and true practice. And then like Sean was saying, you do it the right way and you, okay, yeah, I hold an open house. Or is it a 7-level open house? That's what he's talking about. Is it the right way or the wrong way? I believe you show up to an open house, at least it's better than not showing up, right? But if you go the next step and add balloons, well, then you've gone the next step. And if you go the next step and door knock, then you've added, you just keep adding that reach and influence as you go. So yes, there's a good way to do it, a right way and a wrong way. At least do it. And if the most you can bring yourself to do is at least show up on that first time, on the first day, show up on that first day and then build from there, right? Allow that confidence to kind of be a springboard to know next time I'm going to bring treats and next time I'm going to bring a lender and next time I'm going to add treats and a lender envelope, right? All these different, the signs that's in the MREA too, right? The 7-level.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
It's got the open house,
I don't.
Which one is
But
that
it's-
one in shift?
probably in shift.
Oh,
That's okay. They're all good. That's another reason. Time block your lead generation. So I'm still learning how to time
Does
block.
that say someone wants to?
Haley, yes, it does. Thank you. Are you good at time blocking? I'm just barely
I've
learning,
become-
like I'm starting to
I-
get the hang of
I
it.
more, so I had to do this a couple years ago and I've been becoming, that was one of the things I made that I'm gonna master this. And so I've gotten way better at it than I used to. And now I feel like I could start adding stuff on there again
Hmm,
because I've gotten so good at
Congratulations.
it's
That's
good.
awesome.
it. It definitely took a long time to learn it, do it.
Do you, like, okay, keep a calendar, right? Okay, you think that's, but no. Time blocking is it's a whole different beast. Honestly, truly, like I'm just barely getting the hang of it. And I've been trying, so, some of the things that have helped me, this is for not tonight, but just to keep in mind, GPS 411, doing homework on that. Allison, I'm sure has classes on that if you decide to join her program. But what they're talking about here in regards to time blocking is that you actually make an appointment that I am going to lead generate. So for me, my goal is that I do 3 open houses a month. So that has to go on my calendar every month that I'm going to be at open houses these 3 Saturdays. And my whole family knows that's what I'm going to be doing on Saturday. You guys might go play, that's fine. I'm going to work. And even my grandbaby that's 6 years old knows grandma goes to work on Saturdays. And that is my time blocking for lead generation. I have an hour that's blocked every day to do my SOI calls and I make those phone calls. Right now I'm texting, this round is texting. Hey, I need your help with a survey about animals and how you think about animals in the home. And it's just a quick, not even a 5-minute survey, but it's my conversation. I'm saying I'm in real estate. I care about what people think about pets. So that is time blocked. Every day I have to set that up. And I've got a next level where my assistant sets in command my task of the people that I call every day. Because if I don't do that, there's no, like, I need that level of accountability, right? Someone needs to say, Jessica, it's time to make your phone calls. And then I say, oh, of course I can. That's easy. And I do it, right? So whatever you guys need to put into place. For a while, it was my son. He would be like, Mom, have you made your calls yet today? And he was my accountability partner. In Bold, we were paired up with accountability partners. Wes was my partner. So every day we were checking in. Did you make your phone calls today? How close are you to your 100? What are you doing this weekend to finish up so you do get 100 phone calls or 100 conversations, right? But having that in place, whatever it takes for you to make that happen, set the goal and then time block that goal so that it's in your calendar that no matter what, it's your appointment and you're not doing anything else. Just as if it was a dentist appointment and you had to go get a sore tooth fixed, right? Like you have to get that done. Then make sure you maintain your database while you're doing that. Because that's right. The 201 club, if you can get that, how much money do you make if you're in the 201 club?
It's something like 46% more. Agents that have 201 plus people in their database that have smart plans to make 46 or 47% more than those that don't.
That's
Same.
great.
Yeah.
And the first smart plan that I would suggest you do to everyone is the neighborhood nurture. There's a monthly neighborhood nurture. And I have all mine set to the first of the month. If you need help, I'm sure that Braden, right, at the front desk, he can help you figure out how to do that. But you put in their address, you select the neighborhood that they live in, and then you click smart plan, monthly neighborhood nurture. Click that, starts on the first of the month.
It's
because that's
automatic,
really
it's the
easy for me.
stats for their neighborhood.
Every month
You
that
don't have
goes
to go
out,
research it, it does
that
itself.
that's it, that's all you have to do, and you're making your first conversation email every month for the next, until they tell you to stop. The monthly neighborhood nurture, that is the one that I started with. I would tell everyone to do that again. When you are ready to do your time blocking, make sure they're talking about have a bunker so that no one's gonna, like, the kids aren't running in. Sweep for landmines, which means you're not like, oh, I just realized I just scrolled Facebook for an hour, right? Which is not the same as regeneration. And then list your support. There are people I've heard who put signs on the door at home in their office that this is my one thing I'm doing today. Leave me alone, right? Like, I've got to work right now. Make sure you have food and water. That's the provisions that they're talking about.
She said, don't scroll Facebook for an hour. However, there are multiple classes and people who built large businesses off Facebook. So don't confuse that
Yes,
with scrolling Facebook. They're completely different. There's a strategy behind those people who use social media to build their business.
and I do that, but I also will sit and watch reels for an hour and lose an hour. And that's very different than my one lady who only wants to talk to me through Facebook Messenger on my business page, right? That's a really good point. Okay,
You want to roll right into the next one real quick?
yeah. Oh, do all of that in a TCPA compliant
right?
manner.
Yeah.
Prepare for the next one. Okay, do
Yes.
you guys want to go to the bathroom and get a drink?
That is the do not call registry.
Oh, got it.
Yes. I think
Sean?
you might have to X out and then open the next. So hit escape. Escape.
Well, we're a escape,
And then
it's right here.
Yep.
Do you guys need a bathroom break and water?
I'm gonna try to drink.
Yeah, I'm gonna go out to the car and grab mine. Forgot my thermos.
Oh, I was going to do that.
Oh, of course, Dick Hursley. Yeah, I should have known.
Yep.
Okay,
We fixed ours. at our house.
right? Like, you can't live without it. I should have known him. And here's the thing, like, it's constantly changing too. Like, I had a handyman that I loved, and then all of a sudden he just went back to, right? Like, yeah, always, okay. Anyway, thank you. I'm gonna put that in my bag and call them tomorrow.
Anyone else wants chips? Jimmy John's chips? You what? I don't know if I'll be able to chew them. We'll see how it goes.
Start falling out of your
Yeah.
mouth.
And you're really good at your social media, doing all your, almost daily. I love it. Your commitment and consistency is great with doing your.
I'm
Live
getting better
video.
at it, and it's time blocking.
Oh, there you go.
That it's because it's time blocked, and because I'm paying someone to do part of it for me.
Oh, well, that's helpful. I need to get to the point where I want.
Really, I mean,
So I have a student question.
Yeah.
Because it's literally my first day.
Yeah.
What the heck is command?
Yeah.
What are they talking
I can
about?
show you, so this is, I was actually just on it. This is,
Let the Keller Williams site thing they set up for them?
so this is where you'll import all of your contacts. And. We've got a few here.
Once you get your license, they'll help you get that set up.
I'm still allowed to get talking about all this. What are they talking?
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
So it's through command, you put in all the information. And it's also through command, you can have people to plans like we were talking about a moment ago.
That we do the day with the third shift?
Exactly. So they have these pre-made smart plans that you can schedule and then just go out on a regular basis. On stuff, the one she was talking about is the monthly method, where you just choose where they're living, or the neighborhood that they're interested in.
Actually, good.
Yeah. Yeah. So you have
It shows you the price of the last. And all that. That would be good.
yeah, that kind of information, and then command is also the place you'll go with it.
And then what was one you talking about, with the foundation, read on, lesson plans or something?
I think she's talking about the MREA, the Millionaire Real Estate, book, it's a book by Kelly Period. The Millionaire Real Estate, MREA agent, Millionaire Real Estate.
And you can get it on Audible too, and so I have the hard copy as well as the,
MRE.
The other one that's really good in here too is, the birth date smart plan. It gives you a good excuse to call people, and there, I've not ever had anyone that said, oh, I don't want you to send me a birthday card.
Looks like this.
Of course.
So I just get their birthday, right, and that's what this is. These ones, I didn't put enough mailage on it, so I have them do them, put more mail on it and send them back out, but. It's just a little card that says happy birthday. Oh, exactly what to say. That's a really good one.
My first time here.
yeah, and the other book too,
Right.
yeah.
Did we get going?
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna go through this part fast, so this part is grow your database. Super important. To always, every time you create your goal. Okay, so we do a goal setting towards the end of the year. For the upcoming year. But a lot of it is based on. Your goal that you want to achieve. Then we do the math backwards based on how many people you have in your database. And do you have enough people in there to achieve your goal? If you do, you don't have to worry about growing it. However, most people want to grow their goal. Right? So then how many people do you have to add to your database on a regular basis? Okay. So I'm going to give you this example. My handwriting is horrible. So this is the time in the business. Or sorry, this one's the time in the business. This one's the time lead generation. Or lead generating. So first, you have to spend a ton of time lead generating, right? In the business, as you get in the business, the longer you've been in the business, the less time you have to do that. Would you agree? So it goes something like this. So your time lead generating goes down as you've been in the business longer. Now, the complete opposite effect happens to your success. You guys have heard about the hockey stick, right? So your income is gonna go like this. Then all of a sudden, when you start getting referral business, but you're still building your database, you're still doing the efforts to lead generate, then all of a sudden you're starting to get the business coming back to you through your database. They're starting to refer you business regularly. This time lead generating goes down, but your income is gonna go up. you heard of the hockey stick, right? That's really what this is, your hockey stick to success. And every successful business can talk about the hockey stick, right? So, like Zuckerberg, as an example. I don't know the exact story, but how long did it take him to create Facebook? It was a couple of years of creating the program, right? But he knew if he keeps doing this and keeps growing it, all of a sudden his income went. And he's a perfect example, an exaggerated perfect example, right? But the same thing with Amazon, right? There's pictures of him doing it in his garage, right?
Apple thing.
Right, they're all that way. So it's the hockey stick, they're doing the effort, spending the time, more time. Versus later on, it was less time, but all of a sudden their income drastically went up.
That leads me to think, don't compare your insides to other people's outsides. That's one of the. You could, that, I couldn't get that to work. You guys should have been letting me do it the whole time. It was discouraging to me at first, where I'm like, I am busting my hiney and nothing is coming out of it. And then I see these guys that are like, just go out to lunch, and then like business just comes in, and I'm like, this is why am I doing this, right? But that's exactly why, because they have already put in the time to make that happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are part of like what I would call a lunch group. We don't have a lot of them here, but in the old days, it was more common because in the old days, you worked from the office, and now we work remotely because we have Wi-Fi, we have social media, we have all these, we have DocuSign, all the electronic. Back in the day, you did everything paper, you had to print stuff, so the office where people would come hang out. You'd have these top producers who've been in the business for a long time. Then they become friends with a non-producer. That non-producer, all after 2 years, is like, I gotta leave the business, I can't afford to be here. Well, that's because he's been hanging out with these top producers, and he shows up at 10:30 just in time for them to decide where they're going to go to lunch, because they're done making all their calls. They didn't see that. They go to lunch with these people. They come back to the office. They work for another little bit. It's because they're gathering up their supplies, because they're going to go out showing homes and listing appointments, where that person has no business. So they just go home, or they go to the gym and then go home. So their wife thinks they're working. That's why after 2 years, they leave the business, because they had horrible habits. Don't do that. Don't be part of the lunch crowd.
Do this
Yeah.
instead.
So who wants to read that? Who wants to read it out loud? I should say that way. One of you read it.
Your database is your business. Building up the number of names in it and a relationship with those names is really at the very core of what building a real estate business is all about.
Yep. So she did the math earlier on what, as an example, what's in your database, data bank. And when you look at it, one of the vote laws is that when you change the way you look at things, things will change. I probably said it wrong.
You said that.
But in reality, if you look at your database as a data bank and think of it that way, I need to be in contact with them because one of these other 150 agents aren't or might be. I got to talk to them before someone else does. I got to protect them from the other people. Think of it that way, and you're going to grow your business. Okay. Oh, smart database you got right there. Okay, your database is full of people. You guys I don't know if it's actually in Ignite or one of the tech classes, you're going to learn about different tags. Okay, so we talked about, you guys were talking about smart plans right before we started. So a smart plan, once you enter someone into your database, you create what's called a tag. And a tag is you label them whatever it might be. An SOI, a friend, a family member. You could label them how you met them. So when we were talking earlier about tracking your lead sources, you could track your lead sources and look back and say, how many people do I have tagged as M&M? Now, with that being said, you can have multiple tags. The idea behind it is, if it's a friend or an SOI that you want to invite to one of our events, you could pull up all your tags that have that and then send them that smart plan. But you can also use those tags to track how many people did I meet via my M&M. So you can have multiple tags. The key thing is to use the tags in a way you're going to use them, so think through them. So you might have, and then I'm from an open house, but they're also a buyer. So now you're pulling up all your buyers. And you're sending the buyer stuff. It might be a certain neighborhood, you know, because you got multiple labels, right? So multiple tags. So think of it that way. So there's your lead generation, your relationship management, and then client referral. So it is one big loop. And you can't see the top part, but it's prospecting, right? The way you got your people, the source that you got them from. So then you put them in there. And they're going from just being a lead to a contact to now they're a friend. Now they're receiving my neighborhood nurture. Now they've earned their way to be invited. Now, if you ask someone like Christy Nelson, hers has gotten so large that she's got multiple levels of that. So she'll do client appreciation events that they don't all get invited to. Like the top ones are VIPs that she does drop-bys and concert tickets, things like that. But not everyone gets that, right? They have to earn their way there. And you'll create the way that they have to earn their way. And if they know, right, because you have to ask them, if they know how to earn their way there, most of them will want to. They'll want to be that cool kids club, right? But you're cultivating them and you're converting them. Now they're repeating and then they go right back in. Does that make sense? So that is the example of the time that you put in there first. In time starts giving you the reward. So you have less time you have to do, but then all of a sudden your income's going up. And Jessica mentioned earlier the three things that you spend money on. One of them is your on your business, right? So imagine if you're making $1 million a year, what money you can put back into your business versus if you're only making 30,000, right? So it all builds on each other. So questions on that? No, it's not working.
And this may be hard to quantify because of, depending on the, your average cost of the house or how many leads or whatever, but typically the time from the major investment to where it starts really paying off, is there like an average in the
Everyone's
industry? Everyone's, okay,
Yep.
I have figured. that was
Everyone's
the answer.
different, and then it's based upon their efforts, it's based upon their goals, right? So if my goal is to make $1 million a year, and Dalton's goal is to make $2 million a year, there's a chance that he's gonna have to spend more time doing that to get to his goal, right? If my goal is only to make $100,000 a year, and his goal is to make $1 million, it's gonna take me a fraction of the time.
Yeah.
Right? So everyone's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And it all depends on your SOI and the market you're trying to get after. So I used to tell people, market your neighbors, right? And some people are like, you really don't want to live in this neighborhood, so why would I want to market them? Well, guess what? They're probably thinking the same thing. So market them and market the neighborhood that you want to be in. Why not? When you go market another neighborhood that you want to be in, do they know you're not a neighbor? No, they have no clue. They don't have a clue which around the corner you live. Hey, I'm one of your neighbors. I'm just calling to introduce yourself. Or introduce myself. I'm just walking the neighborhood. They don't know if you live there or not. Right?
Mhm.
So yeah. So in command, I don't really have to tell you someone to use it. In command, you have your leads that can command. So if you're running an ad through command, it actually will drop them right in there. Then as you get it gets bigger, you turn those into appointments, and you can literally take your leads and you can move them along, and it tells you your projected income based upon those, based upon your past numbers. Now, when you first start, this is all going to say zeros, but as you start building this, it's going to get bigger.
And you can set your own goals in there as well. So the inside the circle is where you're at. This little bottom box that's right under that says 0, you can go in and set that, and it will tell you how many leads you need to get in order to meet that goal.
That's cool.
You have to do it though.
You have to do the work, yeah.
You have to set it up to tell you. Now, if you log in there and you haven't set up your goals, it's not going to tell you much. And if you're not putting your leads in there, it's not going to tell you much. If you're running an ad through command, it will drop those in there. But if you're doing an open house, but you don't go back and enter those in there, it's not going to add those in there, right? So it's going to be inaccurate data. So the idea is to put everything in there. Now, you can actually do it right from your smartphone. So during your open house, if you have time in between people, you can hurry now. So you can do it right there on the fly.
And then there's just a little box that you click that says leave.
Yep.
And that will start now populating.
It's way different than a recipe card that we used to write them on. Put them in a little box.
Simpler days and the
Yeah.
recipe.
The 4 laws of your database. So you're building your database and you're feeding it every day, not just feeding it people, but feeding it information. That would be like, let's say if I looked at my database and I got 1,000 people in there, but out of that 1,000, I really only have 100 that have all the information. So when I say feed it every day, it is like taking that from 1,000 to 1,001 that I have everyone's information, which would be really the basic information is their phone number, their email, well, their full names, their email and their phone number, and then their address. Okay. Everything else, feeding it, everything else would be like start to get birthdays, start to get their likes and dislikes, right? So I mentioned Christy earlier. One of the things that she does for our VIPs is stop bys or drop bys. And one of the things I guarantee she has in there is what their favorite drink is. And it might not have been a survey they filled out. It might have been just something in conversation that she purposely asked, but they didn't realize it. So now when they do a drop by, they drop off a Diet Coke, right? They learn what their favorite pie is or favorite ice cream. So it gives you things to add there. So that's what you mean by feed it every day, not just adding people, but communicating with it. How many smart plans do you think you have running at any given time?
Constantly, I have 5 that are always going.
5. She's got 5 that are always going. Probably not every single person there get all 5, but a
Right.
lot probably get overlap, right?
Mhm.
See, it's communicating systematically. It's set up. It took her a minute probably to add it and tweak it, right? But now that it's set up, it's doing the heavy lifting. It's adding to it and tweaking it. Okay, service all leads. So if you get a lead that comes in, what do you do with it? Follow up with it. I gave you the
Sure.
example of that one guy.
Love it.
I said earlier, like, oh, I wish they would stop calling me. That's because it took him years to service the leads to get there. Now now they're willing to wait till he comes back from vacation to help him. Like a lot of people would be like, I'm leaving now. I'll see you guys. I'm going back to work. I don't need to be on this vacation. I'm gonna go take those 3 listings. Right?
I would.
Yeah. a lot of people
Put
do.
that place in my
A lot of
life.
people do. Build your database. At a minimum, each contact should have name, contact information, past business record. That would be possibly where you got the business from. Okay. Each person in there will give you you'll get a score. They'll get a health score if they have all of their information in there. Lead source, account assignee, if they've been working with a certain loan officer or whatever it may be, if you got them on a neighborhood nurture, like there's so many things that you can add to these. Okay, but it gives you a health score per person and a health score for your whole entire database. I think getting into your command and using it regularly, it gets easier and faster. And it gets to the point where your assistant, your TC will tell you who you got to call that day. So I'm going to go back actually.
One thing that I like that Allison told us is don't be afraid to even like practice on it, because if we screw up, like Chris or whoever can help us delete something if we did something.
Yeah, it's
wrong,
hard to
like-
break it.
Yeah, so you could create an because I did that, like a test one, just so I could familiarize myself with stuff, so.
Yeah,
If
add
we
something that
break
you'll
it,
remember.
they-
Fred Flintstone. Yeah, Fred Flintstone.
I would probably.
Yeah, add stuff in there that you know it's going to be fake when you see it.
Yeah.
One of the cool things is you see it right under his name, last contact 22 days ago. Right, so it can remind you.
One thing I did was set it up for myself so that I could see what does it look like to get a neighborhood nurture? What does it look like to
Oh,
be
yeah.
getting a birthday? note for myself. So I put myself in there so I could see what my clients are.
They're not annoying.
Oh, I'm annoying them, that's for sure, but they don't mind it, right? Because it, like, the people that I send stuff to, I have permission to send it to them.
Right.
And I try to have stuff that's valuable, and I don't do it all the time, but I do follow a consistent routine of this is what you're going to be getting from.
Feed it every day. The prospecting, the marketing, getting in front of it, adding stuff regularly. The idea is to be in there utilizing it. Right? One of the things that is so good with Bold is you have to have 100 contacts a day. And there's days where you're 100 contacts a week. There are days where you're like, oh man, I got Bold coming up. I still got 30 more to do. So you go to, a lot of times you go to your easiest sources and you go back to your database, right? And then you look at it going, okay, I can call these 5 people because I don't have birthdays in there. Hey, I'm doing a birthday thing and blah, blah, blah. Or I'm doing our client appreciation event. I'd like to invite you, right? So it gives you reasons to call. And then you add those notes in there. We talked about the big loop, but it's just building on that loop, right? Repeat business is the best business. Oh, and then a lot of agents do the testimonials, getting the 5-star reviews. There years ago when that first came out, it was such a big deal. And we have this team of people who they're getting ready to retire. In fact, he's already kind of retired. She's kind of, it's a husband and wife team. She's kind of semi-retired now, and all they do is refer out their business. But one of the things they did is they got all these people to give them 5-star reviews, and then they broadcast the living crap out of that, having those 5-star reviews. But if you get people to do that, you get people to share that information, it's going to go a long way. There's a top producing agent out there. I'm not going to say his name. He's no longer with us. He decided to open up his own. His team got so big and so successful. He was well over $1 million a year producer. And he wanted to, his goal was to open up his own branch. He doesn't make what he used to make. And he's trying to retire now. So he left us thinking that was going to be better. Anyway, what he used to do, and it's ingenious, what he used to do is he had multiple moving trucks. And if you saw one of his moving trucks on the road, you took a picture of it, you shared it on social media, and you used a certain hashtag, he would enter you into a drawing for a prize. So people were out marketing for him. Okay. Then he thought, I'm going to go even bigger. He bought an old milk truck, and he wrapped it, and he called it the Swagmobile. And he would go to little, like the Twilight concerts. He would go to the what's the thing on Saturdays down in Ogden? Farmers market. He would go places like that, and he would hand out just t-shirts, mugs, things like that. And then he did the same thing. If you see that t-shirt at Lagoon and you take a picture and tag the hashtag on it, you would get entered to a prize. It's pretty ingenious. That's how he built this huge business. So anyway, it's agents in so many ways. It's these people who make your business bigger. Now you don't have to. Now keep in mind, if he's making $1 million a year, we were talking about putting that money back in your business. You making that much money, you're looking for things to buy and spend money on that are going to generate more business, more leads, more money that you can also tax deduct. That makes sense, because you don't want to just give it to Sam. So now one of the things that we as an industry, I think we're getting a black eye from is we have horrible follow. We have horrible response times, right? We'll get emails, we'll get texts, we'll get phone calls, and sometimes we're slow to respond. I think that when you run ads through your command, you can literally set it up to do autoresponders. That at least helps offset some of that. But one of the things that you got to do is make sure you have good communication. Make sure you answer your phone. You don't have to like step out of church and answer the call, right? You get to the point where you're setting your business up to work for you. So, but we got to have better communication. I think as an industry, we really are getting that black eye, because there was a time frame not that long ago we were all so busy I don't care about capturing that lead because another one's gonna come in right behind it. Right? But you can't think that way.
And then you capture the lead and then you follow up, which is another thing with command. Again, I talk to somebody, I am typing in what we just talked about, and then I'm going into tasks and creating a task for myself to follow up for whatever that looks like. So every day, well, I do 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. I'm in command. What are my tasks for that day? What do I need to follow up from? Because I think that's the second part of it. I can get the information, I can put it in command. Then what, right? Like if it's in there, it's not a smart database if I'm not then following up.
Yeah, so this is an example that they're saying, hey, to a past client, I'm gonna ask you to give me a 5-star review on each of these. So imagine if someone gave you a 5-star review on all 5 of those. It's not one 5-star review, right? Do you think that could build that database of 5-star reviews up even more? To succeed at a high level in real estate sales, you must commit to frequent contact with the database with the intent of building close relationships. You mentioned, Jessica mentioned earlier that Gary Keller's talking about that it is a contact sport. And so many agents are afraid of that contact. So many agents are afraid to have that communication. And that makes the world of difference. I mean, almost every industry really is a relationship business, right? Now, an example would be Amazon. Who's your relationship with?
The delivery driver.
Your delivery driver and your computer / your past stuff, right? Because now, I'll give you an example. So I had an injury. I go to the gym a lot, and I had an injury, and then Justin Yoder told me of these. I don't know what you call them, ice pack, but for your arms. They're like a sleeve of ice packs that you go in the freezer. Now, because I've ordered one in the past, I thought I needed to get a second one, because why not just have both arms at the same time instead of rotating it? And you know what I did? Instead of going and starting over and researching it, I just went and ordered the same one I already ordered. So my relationship with Amazon's with my driver, because it's the same people, same 3 people that come into my house regularly, and my past orders account.
Yeah.
That's who it is. Now, some people probably have, like Russie, because of her kids and all that, I guarantee she's got way more past orders. Her relationship might be with customer service there. I've never had to deal with customer service there, but hers might be. So I go to Lowe's regularly, and I have her name's Amber. I don't even go to Lowe's anymore without just calling Amber to say, hey, Amber, I need you to fill this order. And I go online to my account and I start what the job is, and she just builds it out so much faster. So my relationship with Lowe's isn't with Lowe's, it's with Amber. Does that make sense? So every industry has one of those. Red Robin. Oh, I can't think of her name. I can picture her face. She works the lunchtime. She probably comes in at noon, but probably leaves like at 5 or 6. Whenever we go there, she makes sure she waits on us, because she knows what we're going to order. We can just keep talking, and we're on the phone. We're just chit chatting. She literally brings us our food. And I don't go there that often. I only go there maybe twice a month. That's customer service, right? You want to be one of those people. So I don't think of Red Robin. I think of her, if that makes sense. Too bad I can't remember her name.
Because she's made it so easy and convenient.
Absolutely. And she's made a good experience. So I would definitely give Red Robin a 5-star review because of her. So communicate systematically. So Jessica said she's got 5 smart plans running at pretty much all times, does that include like when we have events, or is that an extra one?
That would be an extra.
So how hard is it to have 5 running at one time?
It's all on autopilot.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
See, it gets now setting up the first one probably took a little bit of time. Setting up the second one probably took a little time, but probably by the second one, the third one's like, oh, this one does this. Oh, that's cool. You just throw it on there.
And it was like for me, you guys can still do this too. I didn't even set the first couple up by myself. I sat with Chris and he helped me do it. So it's not even like, you still have to kind of know, but there are people here that can help you do that.
So you've heard, I'm probably gonna get the saying wrong, but you've heard the saying, when the student's ready to learn, the teacher will appear. You've heard that? Am I saying that right? I'm gonna tell you guys this. Is this being recorded? I can't tell you.
Do you want me to put it on?
No, I
Well, I
just-
don't-
you
if I-
believe it. My database is the absolute worst. It's a mess. It is, I've tried to get people to fix it and they're like, Sean, no, you have to go through and fix it. You need to go through and fix this before we can do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Guess how many smart plans I have running right now?
0.
One.
Neighborhood nurse.
I don't even have a neighborhood nurture. So mine's horrible. And the reason being is command. My time in the industry predates command even being born.
Yeah.
Okay, so I used outside sources and then I worked with, I had a huge team. We used this one, we had a full-time person that managed it. Then when we started doing command, it was called something different at the time. I had a full-time lead manager on my team. That's all I did is work that. And he learned that, what's it called? SurveyMonkey? SurveyMonkey had better communication stuff. So he pulled stuff out of what at the time was command, was using SurveyMonkey. And then, so all this got thrown back into my command. And so now I look at command and it's like an absolute mess. I have multiple people in there. I mean, I have people in there multiple times. They're not tagged right. So that's what people are like, you gotta go fix your tags. You gotta, but there's 3,000 people in there. Yeah. So we talk about my time blocking. I have at 4 o'clock every day. Supposed to go in there from 4 to 4:30 to work on my
I'm
computer.
supposed to. He does.
I don't do it every day, but it's in there every single day. Because I know I gotta fix it in order to get 4 or 5 smart plans running at one time. Do you know why? Because I can make that 1.3 million that she gave once I get it fixed. Does that make sense? Yeah, your database
And it takes
needs to
just,
be
again,
systematic.
like consistent and systematic. It has to be on a consistent basis that you're touching everyone you're touching command. That is just that simple. You're going in there. And that's why I'm saying, like, for me, I know it's my excuse is to talk to people is the survey, but the purpose is for me to be in command, reading their notes, remembering who they are, what they're doing. And I do my, when we're getting into that, so some of the tags, I do A, B, C, and D people, and they're constantly moving up and down. A people get other things, like special things that the C and D people don't get, right? And so I'm constantly going through that. And you know what? This person's not responding to my texts anymore. I'm not gonna keep sending them these big prizes that I send to my A people if they're not gonna return my call. So it's not just set it up and then don't worry about it. The work, the smart plan is a smart plan, but the work behind the database has to be consistent.
Yeah, so some of these large teams or people with large databases, they get to where their VIP could be someone who's bought 5 homes from me and gives me 5 referrals a year. So if you've only bought 4 homes, but you're giving me the referrals, you're not my VIP yet. But some of those VIPs get like concert tickets, they get some pretty big ticket items, right? There's not a lot of people in there. But you can see these are some examples of tags. So someone could get a golf tag and they could be a military tag, right? So it could be that you're sending something special to the military people during certain things of the year. You know, we have Veterans Day, we have, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
Right? So, and it could be that you knew that they were not only in the military, that they were in the Army, and it could be this is the Army's birthday, right? So you send them something special for that. So dog lovers, I don't know what you would send them.
That's what I'm working now. So for me, can you do the survey? If they fill out the survey, I'm sending them a collapsible pet watering dish with my logo on it, right? It's on my logo, so now I get to use it as a tax deduction because it's my logo on it. But now I also know, do they like cats? Do they like dogs? Do they prefer birds? Would they buy a house? And the other question I'm asking is, what would deter you from selling your home with a pet? And what would deter you from buying a home that had a pet living in it? So now I'm gaining information as well. So now I can service people who deal with pets, right? But that's, again, those tags are there for a reason. So use them. I mean, you have to put all that together to make it a system.
Yeah. Now, remember earlier I was mocking those instructors who are so out of touch with the business and they tell those stories. I am going to tell you an old story. This is predating the tags and all of it, but I had this friend of mine in business who's actually not only retired, he's deceased, but he made a lot of money. And what he sold was large homes with horse property. He was a horse property expert. And literally what he would do is he would drive, like a lot of agents would drive and see for sale by owners and stop and go knock on the door. He looked for horse trailers in regular neighborhoods, and he would act like he was knocking the neighborhood, and really he wasn't. He was knocking only on that door exclusively, because what did he know? He know that they have horses somewhere that aren't theirs or aren't at their house, and he knew that they wanted them for whatever reason. They got to drive every day to wherever the horse is at for the most part and go take care of those horses. So he would go knock on their doors. Now, in today's world, he could have horse lovers and he could meet those people and drop them in there. But back then, he made a killing off selling their little house in the regular neighborhood and selling them a 10-acre piece. That's what he would do. That was his business model.
Smart.
So then he could use that tag to maybe start a group
Mhm.
that was horse lovers. He could be using that tag to sort his people to send an email maybe once a quarter that's just designated to horses. He could be Christmas presents would be for those people or
Facebook groups,
that specific.
Facebook ads towards people who are in those same worlds, right?
Yeah.
It snowballs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But of course,
Talked
dog
about a
lovers
lot.
are up there because
Yeah.
they should be. I mean, everyone should be.
I think so.
I love them from a distance. I just
like
don't
the
like,
golf.
for me, it's an extra kid and something to have to clean up after.
Oh, man, I'm gonna go home and snuggle my puppy.
So I use the example of the horse guy, right? So if you love golf and you golf regularly, especially at the same golf courses, there's no reason why, depending on the golf course, almost all of them have homes around them, right? So you get to go knock on those doors. For all they know, you live in the neighborhood, you become that neighborhood golf community expert, right? So you're getting the referrals, and they may say, you know what? I do love golf. However, I don't love the snow. So I would like to maybe sell this one and get a downsized one and buy an extra one in St. George. Are you going to tell them no, you don't want to help them? You wouldn't, right? There's
I didn't
ways to
realize
build
how
them.
much I would golf in the backyard. I thought it wouldn't bother me, but now I realize I hate it. I can't live with a golf ball in my backyard anymore.
So, okay, so you guys have heard an 8x8. Have you heard that term? Okay, so 8x8. So what they're saying is you gotta have 19 touches to connect with someone in order to cement your relationship with them, and then a 36 touch to convert. Okay, so when we're talking about her smart plans, the idea behind a smart plan is it's systematizing your 36 touches. Now you can systematize the first ones, the 19 touches. Matt Green used to work in the community, or the what do you call it, the resort community type business, right? He worked in Park City, and they took what I would call an 8x8, and they made it all happen within like 4 days. And it seems overwhelming, but a lot of times the idea was to try to capture them. They would come into town and you wanted to try to capture them before any other agent did, and B, before they left town, right? They wanted to try to cement their relationship. They had a lot of success doing that in a super quick way. So don't feel like this has to be each year, but every person's a little bit different. So some of her smart plans that she's running probably are just the soft touches, right? They're earning their way to be cemented.
Someone was talking about how they separated it out, like, right, you say, maybe it's an 8x8 and you're gonna compact it in, but are they checking their email and their text message and their mailbox at the same time? It's not necessarily they're not, right? So even though you feel like it's coming in fast, it's really in their perspective. If it was constant like that, you do need to be respectful.
One of the things that they did is they would try to get their home address wherever they were visiting from, and there would be a small gift for them when they got home. That's a big deal.
Clever.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And when he was giving examples, it wasn't anything big. It was something like a $2 item, Probably cost more to ship them, but they were doing them regularly, that it was automated. So, now there's a way that you can upload the people in your contacts in your phone right into your command. And I suggest sitting down with one of Chris, Lauren, or Bradley to do it. And then going through and working up, because then you could fast forward getting your database built and then start tweaking it from there. Because there'll be people you'll take out, there'll be people who are duplicate, there'll be people who, that's their old number, right? Your job is to build a community and serve that community. So, let's talk about that for a minute. So we as a brokerage, if you were to think about the Weber and Davis and Box Elder, Morgan counties, we are a collective of those people. Now, Anita, what's Anita's last name?
Anita.
No.
Anita.
Anita is one of our top producing agents, lives up in Ogden Valley. And I met with her today, that's why I was using her as an example. So she works a lot of the $1 Million community. She was, I don't know I can't remember the different levels of ski instructor not rankings, but levels of certifications or whatever they have. She was the first woman to achieve this whatever one. And because of that reason, she got a lot of the women skiers that would fly into Utah. So she's got a lot of database, a large data bank of outside of Utah area that are all these, right? Because who pays the most expensive, highest level rated person are probably rich people, right? So that's her database. So she's got those people in her database. She lives up in Eden. That's what she works with. Now, those people I ski regularly, but my ski buddies are all the drunken old ski racers, right? So it's different people. Even though they're both skiers, right? So the idea behind it is we are a mirror of the community that we serve. Now think of yourself as a mini version of that. Now, do you speak Spanish?
No.
So you're probably not going to want to market to the Spanish community. Would you agree?
Correct.
Now, do you golf?
Yes.
A little. Do you golf a lot?
Yeah.
So the idea is he's going to probably spend more time marketing people who golf than you would, right? But you're probably not going to turn down a golfer unless they only speak Spanish.
Yes.
Do you see where there's some overlap and stuff? So the idea is you think about who you want to serve. Now, there was a top producing agent who his average sales price was well over $1 million, and his average sales price was always up there. And when I asked him once, I was doing like a mini interview, and I was like, how did you get your average sales price that high? And he looked at me like I was weird for asking it. And I said, how did you get your average sales price? Because I thought it was just the way I asked it. How did you get your average sales price so much higher than everybody else's? And he still looked at me weird. And he finally said, Sean, I don't know anything different. When I got in the business, I lived in my parents' home and I just knocked on our neighbors' doors. He grew up in a neighborhood like that. So for him, that was just the norm. Now for everyone else, they're like, oh my gosh, he makes so much money because everything's over $1 million. Well, he just didn't know anything different because that's what he knew. And I'm not saying you can't go knock on $1 million homes if you don't live in $1 million homes. What I'm saying is you work the database of the people you have in your phone. You work the database of the people that you are friends with and you associate with, the friends, the family, the past coworkers, right? If you worked at, give me an example of where one of you work. FedEx. Okay. So you said you have a lot of drivers.
Yeah.
Okay. So your database is probably going to be a lot of drivers, which is going to be pretty diverse because you're probably going to have some cliques of some drivers that go golfing on Fridays. You might have others that go to watch soccer games, right? So the idea is to grow around that, figure out who you want to become, who you want to market to. Is that, are you guys, what is he saying? What did he say in bold? Are you tracking? Are you guys tracking that? Are you tracking that?
But I have to wear pants. When I'm in Arizona, I just never wear.
Did you know he forgot his belt like 3 or 4 times? That's so weird to me. When he said he never wears pants, I was like, yeah, you never wear belts either. Yeah, he in bold, in bold, for those who don't know, it's the bold acronym is Business Objective Life by Design. And we fly an instructor in once a week to teach it for that 8 weeks. And so he would come in the night before and he would probably leave his family, kiss his kids, good night, but then fly here, wake up early in the morning, come teach our class and then fly home. So sometimes he'd be like, I forgot blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, you guys built regularly. And I'm weird about that, so I noticed it.
Sidetrack, I know. I just thought it was funny because I made a gasp of, oh my, you never wear pants? No, I mean, I just only wear shorts. Because words matter.
Yeah. Words matter. So think about the community you serve. If you want to work the golf people, you want to work the horse property owners, you want to work dog lovers, you can build the business that you want.
And now we have such, like you said, Facebook, there are Facebook groups for anything. So if you need to decide you want to join a group, go join a group. You want to learn something new. It's a whole group of people that you could now have as your community.
I was using Jen Herb as an example that she works a lot of the runner community. She gets referrals regularly from those guys. Girls and guys, those people.
Those people.
Those people, those humans.
The humans.
Now, with that being said, what does that one say? Service all leads. Now, if someone comes in that's Spanish speaking, what do? You refer it to someone.
Yes.
You build relationships with people outside of your community. Now, I used an example earlier of the person who's like, I really don't love the snow, but I want to buy a house in St. George. Find an agent in St. George. Build those relationships with people that are outside of the groups that you service. But that doesn't mean you can't service them. Just means it's going to be harder, more difficult.
It just looks different.
It's
You
gonna,
can
it's gonna
still
look
do
different.
It just looks different.
Yeah.
Because there's been a lot of people where, like, I've had people moving out of state, fantastic. I've made money on the house that they bought out of state because I got a referral, right? Because I took the time to say, oh, you've got to go to Virginia. Great thing about Keller Williams, we have an international network and I will find you a reputable agent to work with in that area. And it takes a couple phone calls and then I do some follow-up, but one time it was like a $5,000 check. Like, I'm not gonna be sad about that, right? Like, the only thing I had to do was make the connection and have some follow-up, right?
They actually have a way through Command that's called the broadcast referral. That
Yeah,
you could put in the general thing of what they're looking for, if they're buyer or seller, and it shoots it out to all the agents that work that in that area.
yeah.
And then they respond back to you. You can set the parameter that they have 24 hours to respond. Then you pick the ones you want and run with it.
And I've gone in where I'm like, okay, they want to move to this area, but they're a buyer, so then I can sort by, oh, this person is the one that I like. I want to try this person first. Want to try this person. Like, there's a lot of ways to sort through that, but.
Yeah.
Anyway, make some money, yo.
So work every lead. Earlier, we were talking about text versus phone call versus email. They all have different ways of wanting to be communicated with, right? But the idea is come up with a plan that works. Now, my clients, like, for the most part, know if I don't respond back, that I'm either teaching a class, I'm in a meeting, but they know I'm going to get back to them. But if it's a lead, they don't always know that. They might just go on to call the next person. But follow up with everybody. Don't
And those
not.
new leads are the ones that are most get to them as fast.
Most
as you
vulnerable,
can.
yeah.
Vulnerable is a good word.
Yeah, so as a lead comes in, it drops into your thing and you cultivate it. Then you turn them into the next thing. So like this right here is a listing. Then it goes into there's an appointment. Let's see, it's now an active listing. Now it's under contract. Like it tracks all of this stuff.
And it's fun, it's just like a little clicky through. And you can go through and each one of them, like appointments, you can say, when I have an appointment, I have to do A, B, C, and D. And then it gives you a little check mark. And you can, again, send that over by moving them into appointments. That checklist will move over into your tasks in Command. So then when it's time for me to go into my tasks in Command, that's just already there, populated in my list. So I don't have to go think, oh, strikers are at the appointment setting. What do I need to do next? No, we've already done that. It's in the list. I just have to send that. Again, I can't, it's cool. I'm just, again, learning it, but it's getting better too.
Yeah.
That's the other thing.
Yep. It tracks everything. it tells you who you should be calling, who shouldn't be calling, who's next on the list, who needs this, who needs that, but it does it for your transactions as well. And I know this isn't a transaction class, but it tells you what on your transactions, what you need to do. And our compliance department does too. So you got to build your database, feed it every day, communicate regularly, but make it systematically. And then you got to service every new lead you get. Does it
I
sound
think
simple?
that's where it falls apart, well, the whole thing, it's all good. They're all 4 lines. Services is where I kind of fall apart toward the end. Cause it's like, hey, 2 weeks and now you're just waiting. Cause that's all there is left to do. And then I'm realizing like, oh, I forgot to follow up with you and it's been 2 weeks and it's time to close. And I just left them hanging for 2 weeks. That's not a good thing.
So, most of the time, once you get someone under contract, and especially if you hand it off to a transaction coordinator, there's a lot of times where we just kind of like, wait. However, if they always know what's next, then it's
Yeah.
good. Then they're usually comfortable.
Cause that brings us back to that systematic communication.
Follow the 4 laws, don't quit too soon. The 36 touch, think of that as your campaigns. You gotta think long-term, right? We talked about the duration of time versus the reward with the money. Always come from care and service. And then, you gotta build relationships, but that's not just with your consumer and your clients. It's with your title people, your loan officers. You get to know who appraisers are, your photographer, your swamp people, you get to know all these different people. So. And that is basically our class, not basically, that's the class. Any questions you guys have?
It's a lot all at once.
We went fast.
The question, but I'm not sure how
Sure.
it is relevant, but it's kind of, anyway. I've had a couple situations where people in open houses, they have agents and we have their information and,